Hello world, I'm Lisa Marie for the channel Miss Tori GG. It's a play on the word mystery, and always wishing you a good game at the end. Today I am supposed to be cleaning up my place, and instead I am going to go ahead and take on the news that PSA has just bought Beckett. Oh my gosh, can you believe it? Wow, I need to stop everything and get online and talk about this. Before I get started on what I've got here to show off, I just want to make one thing clear to Santa. Hey, yeah, did you get my text? I have a collection of slabs. The box I actually just found a few months ago. As I usually find most of my things. Got a little spot for some individuals. And keep my slabs in there. Easy. One thing I try to do is I try to keep all of the sets together. And I would actually really love to keep them in their own set boxes, but sometimes storing them is a little awkward. I like the ETB boxes, so I try to collect them as much as I can, but I only have maybe like, even when it comes to ETBs, only like half the sets even have an ETB right now. And so I try to look for boxes that are very clearly for that set. But like, nobody's throwing out an Evolving Skies box. It's just a box too. What was I saying? Oh yeah, I like to try to keep all my sets together, but it gets a little hard, so I'll at least put them in like their timelines. Try to anyways. Everything is so unorganized, that's really why I've been like going through them so much. This was a trade. Which is another thing I want to tell people. If you want to see like value out of these cards, it's not just card stores and the internet that will take them. If you have somebody that, you know, may express interest in this kind of thing, make them an offer. Hey, thanks for coming by and fixing something, or you know, picking up my kid when I needed you to, or hey, I heard you like Pokemon cards. Would you be interested in taking one of these instead of $100 bucks? Well, 200, 300. But you might be surprised. So when it comes to grading cards, I do see them for their monetary value in terms of what it could be in the future. It's got a very healthy upward and downward pattern to how it sells, in that it survives the time people need to take off of it, if that makes sense. Because this is a world you gotta let go of and come back to sometimes. Just because it ties up so much time and space and money and attention just to stay up to date with it. Like, a good 98% of people that get into it, at least from my experience anyways, I'm not saying this is any kind of statistical fact or anything, but from my experience, anybody who does kind of get into this, even as like a kid or an adult, within like a few years, they start saying, you know, I had to pull back on it, I had to slow down, I had to put it to the side. There's my pen. For whatever reasons, whether it's like family responsibilities or school needs their attention, or just things happen in their life that this can't take the full scope of what they need to keep up with it. So you get that break, you take that break, but it's something that you can easily get back into. You can easily sort of look at again later and be like, okay, I'm ready to go back into this now. The information that I had before might be old but still relevant, and I can just keep updating from there. So this has been a world that's proven to me it has that kind of longevity to it. So when it comes to grading cards, I can see the value in holding on to them until you get back to that future point and say, okay, time to start getting back into dealing with these cards, and they're still in good condition. Binders are great. Binders are fine. I use them for my personal collection as well. But I also am not collecting raw for the immediate idea to flip it. Cards like this, I probably have an easier time flipping. Cards that I know look good, they're eye-catching, they're things people will want to pick up, and that's the big one. These are cards that people will want to pick up and look at close to their face to say wow or cool or neat. So you want to protect them. You want to make sure nothing happens to them, because you know that 10 years from now, when maybe you want to get a new card, because it's not even just for money. There's going to be new cards later. They're going to have a whole different design. Maybe like full out kind of like texture of some kind. Like those Burger King cards from way back when. I need to like pop up a photo. Yeah, I'm on team. Go ahead and make an offer with the Pokemon card. They're already pretty powerful in terms of people understanding that there's want to them, there's value to them. So if somebody's short on cash, but you've got a couple of these, I'd say make an offer and you'd be surprised. These are some singles I have in the box from the newest set of this time anyways. They're probably going to be like the most common of the newest box, but I just wanted to make sure I had mine, so for $4 a piece, yeah. Oh, except for this one. This one's 15. So everybody knows that one's so damn cute. What did I say about the pink cards? You guys love the pink cards and you won't admit it. Get the pink cards. I do have one more out here. This is the first card I grabbed that I was like, it has to be slabbed. I've got to get it in a 10. I've got to get it beautifully preserved from the beginning. I don't want to look for a perfect one. I don't get that feeling a lot, but this card, for some reason, I was like, I got to get it in 10. I got to get it in a 10, and I got to make sure it's good. At the time, it was only about $100. So I paid $150 to get it, because that's how Lisa shops sometimes. That's why I can't do this for too long. And within like 3 months, 6 months, suddenly everybody started noticing this card and the market started going crazy for it. Now it's at $1,000. Go with your gut. I almost didn't buy it because I was like, $150, but it's supposed to be $100. do I really want to get it for $50 over the price when it's supposed to be $100? Like, I'm sure I can find it somewhere else, and I could, but it was never $150 again. I have one more fancy box. Not necessarily found. This one was at a thrift store for $5. Beautiful box made with cork and some gold flecks inside the cork. Cork is a product from Portugal. This is where I keep like my better older cards. Well, I did say I talked about the grading, didn't I? I've never had too much respect in terms of what grading company to go for. I don't really care. Although I do think this is the worst. SGC, by the way, that's SGC. I just don't like this plastic, this black plastic here, surrounding the card like that. I just feel like there's a lot of micro damage going on to the edges there, and so I really should stop shaking it around. When it comes to CGC, I always thought they were fine because I'm into comic books first, and that's where I first saw sort of grading. Well, I first started seeing grading and authenticating for coins, and there's like, I think they were collecting or taking on concert posters and festival stubs, things like that, from like obviously anything from the Beatles or like Elvis, things like that. So preserving collectibles was kind of a thing already, but when it came to cards, I know PSA was the first one to do it with Pokemon, even though sports cards were already being authenticated. And I get that, that's fine, but to say PSA is the only name that should be doing cards because they were the first, like, no. I've never had a problem with CGC, so if I see CGC versus PSA and the CGC is a lesser price, then yeah, I'm gonna get the CGC. It's not a big issue for me. I liked the idea that Tag had calling for AI, or to at least the scans, to take care of their grading, because human error is always the biggest factor when it comes to trusting grading companies. But once I saw that their slabs were like not only easy to open, but then they doubled down to be like, oh yeah, we made it like that, that was on purpose, and I was just like, then why am I trying for this perfect grade on a perfectly electronic system just to have it like break on impact and delivery? Like, so, and then when it even comes to like the numbers, I've said it before, I'll say it again, if I had a grading company, I would probably just make the grades like the perfect 10, factory error perfect, so it's perfect but it's not because it has something wrong from the factory, or just authenticated. The rest is just authenticated. Whether or not it'd be a choice for the customer to make, I don't know, to like send them back a scan to be like, this is the issues we saw that make it not perfect, do you want it authenticated or do you just want the card back raw? Which, if you're really doing this because you want to hold on to things and still be perfect 10 years from now when the value actually like goes up in the relooping of interest in these cards, then you should be going ahead and grading the ones that you believe in to hold on to for a long time, because that's going to be the best way to protect it. To get into grading for the newest of cards, for the quick flip, I think is a hindrance to people, because you are now putting the value at the hands of the grading company, and that just gives them too much power to mess with your value by holding on to the card for as long as they need to process it. And not to say that's what any of them do on purpose. There's no time to think about things like that for these kind of companies. They're busy. They're trying to get more of these things into their possession as fast as possible. And when things start working at that kind of speed, that's when I take a step back and I'm just like, this is not my world. I'm gonna let that play out for a little bit. And so that's essentially what I'm doing when it comes to grading. I already have only sent 2 cards in my entire life, and I didn't really have much plans to send in others. So I'm probably gonna continue to stay in the back of the class of this one. Because I don't even see it as a surprise that that's what they did. Beckett has had some lower numbers recently because I think their quality standards have been a little crazy, especially since they started doing, or people started showing them at shows doing those reviews. Like, they'll look at your card to tell you if it's a 10 or not before they grade it. And I couldn't believe how much people were paying per card to get them to check it, when they might as well just go ahead and grade for the same kind of cost, and then that way it's done. But maybe I'm just not fast enough in this, and I've definitely been told that a few times. I'm not that kind of quick to be concerned about how the money is in it right now and you want to catch it before it dips again. Because I'm the kind of person that's just like, oh, well, there's no problem in just keeping it, so I hope I actually finished and made a point in there. I'm not super concerned over PSA buying Beckett. If anything, I was concerned when PSA was becoming the authenticator of eBay. That to me was already a monopoly decision, a monopolizing decision that I didn't agree with. But if you look at it from eBay's point of view, it really does help them protect their side of the story, protect their company, protect their assets. And now that they're offering they keep returns now. So if I do sell a card online and somebody says it's not what I sold them, or they just don't like it or whatever, eBay's now going to try to keep this product to make it easier for me, because I, as original seller, might be upset for taking this card back. Like I said, not me personally, I'm perfectly okay with keeping, but I know as a store, as somebody who's trying to have constant rotation of product, they're going to be annoyed to have to put this back in storage, which is the hardest thing about retail, is to store the stuff. I have fun with my boxes. I love my hoard of things. Like, this is what I do. I'm actually really good at packaging. So like I have fun with this. If my income relied on this, I would probably consider that a godsend, that I could still keep the money. The card is still out of my inventory and I don't have to think about that transaction ever again. But as a collector, my conspiracy theory brain goes off and it goes, but then they're keeping the card and then they're going to be holding on to it until the value goes up when they say the value is up because the authenticator said that this is what it is. I get it. I really do get it. But honestly, most of the time people are just too busy. People are just too busy to go that deep into how they could take over things. And it's really just about the money. They want more of it. They want more of it, and this is a secondary market that hasn't been hit too hard by government yet. But the louder we cry about everything that's going wrong, the closer you get the authorities into that space with you. I had a story of explaining this part better, but now I'm forgetting it, where movie production companies, companies like MGM way back when, and Paramount, and they had theater companies, or like production companies owned theaters that they would show their films to, but they would only show their own films, or they only show certain films, and refuse to display competition, which before the internet, this was a problem because you were creating a monopoly. You were not allowing for competition to be around. Which, as a production company, you're going, of course not. Why would I want to be showing other movies when we have our movies? It's like, well, people in your area don't have the choice but to see what you got. To monopolize them like that is to completely influence their entertainment portion of life. You're influencing their way of thinking. You're creating a bias in terms of what's good. It's a little harder for a production company to do that these days because of something like the internet, but it's still important to keep competition and disallow monopolies like that. So the louder people get about PSA buying Beckett and the fears of controlling pricing in the market, it's not to say you don't have a point. It's just to say that instead of voting with your dollar and keeping control within the player base, you're kind of creating an outcry for outside sources to come in and fix it. And that's what I'm afraid of. I don't like when that happens, when something says, okay, we're gonna fix it by creating rules, which always seems like a good idea at first, but then the rule stays and it stretches farther and farther because people play with words and people play with okay, I'm not going to go too deep into that. My message is mostly to say, be careful how loud you get in terms of how these kind of secondary products are being sold, because this world is already pretty much free and open market, and I would like to see it stay that way. Otherwise, we're just, like, we've already got taxes on things online for things that we've already spent full price money on and paid taxes on already, like twice. You gotta buy the box and then you buy the slab and you're paying tax on everything plus all the shipping. Like, why do I want them in there a third time? The louder you get on that, the more likely it's just gonna get really expensive. And it's not even going to be for us. It gets the money is worth it. It gets shared by other people who weren't a part of this in the first place, because people wanted to cry help for nothing. This is nothing. Anything else? Said something that I didn't show, something I didn't say. I really hope I made my point. I think I'm good for today. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate your time and patience. It is now like 7:30 in the morning. Time for me to go to that cleaning I was dreading of doing. Thank you for the wonderful distraction. Have a good day.